Hey there, in this video we're going to cover the basics of the Fibonacci retracement tool. We're going to look at the most popular retracement settings, and then we're going to do an example of a retracement and finding a good place to re-enter a trade. So in our Fibonacci retracement tool, the three main we're going to focus on, because this is what most traders look at, is the 38.2, the 50, and the 61.8. And we're also going to include the 0 and the 100. And I also have some other retracements and extensions in here, but that's for a little more advanced technique. Right now we're going to focus on these basics and how we can draw and use them. So I have my Fibonacci retracement tool settings in there. And the stock I want to use an example on is FCX, Freeport McMoran. And you can see this is a daily chart of 2011, and we're coming up on the end of the year. You can see that FCX for a big portion of the year had been trading in this this wide trading range here. And this is about a 10-point trading range. So then we got to the top of the range, and you can see we had our first sort of break of this previous support of about 46 and change. And let's zoom in just a little bit here. So we broke down, and this is our impulse leg. And we talked about in a trending market, you get an impulse leg and then a pullback, and then an impulse leg and a pullback. And it could be an impulse leg to the upside, and then you get a pullback to some sort of support, and then you continue higher. But in this case, we're going to look at an impulse leg to the downside and look how to get into this thing on the short side. So you can see, here's the impulse leg. It broke the previous support. So now we're looking for a short entry where you could either short the stock, buy some puts, maybe sell a call spread. And when we draw our tool on here, we draw from the high to the low, in this case from left to right. And it's high to low because we're doing a bearish example. And whenever you draw your Fibonacci retracement grid here, you can see that it puts in there the 382, the 50, and the 61.8. You want to make sure that, in this case, since it's the low, that the 382 is the one that's closest to the 0 line. If we were drawing, in an uptrend, we would want to make sure that 382 is closest to the upside. And the reason I bring this up, because there are some trading platforms that sort of do this backwards. And so we want to make sure that you're understanding that this move, this is the 38.2% retracement of this entire move. 50% is pretty much in the middle, but sometimes depending on how the tool works in your platform, you may have to draw this the other way. In Thinkorswim, this is how you draw it. So, but I just want to kind of throw that out there for those that are not using Thinkorswim. You want to make sure your retracement levels are in the right direction. So we've got our tool on here. We've got our Fibonacci grid, and you can see that we're starting to retrace. So let's kind of imagine that we're looking at this in real time. And hindsight's always 20/20, of course. But we have this impulse leg, and now you can see we're starting to retrace. And and the question is, well, where do we get short? Do we get short the 382, the 50, the 618? How do I know which Fibonacci retracement to enter this trade and on the short side? Because we're retracing, at some point we're expecting a reversal here. So right away, most people probably see that this previous support will probably act as resistance. And since this lines up with the 382, let's go ahead and just extend this a little bit. Since this previous support lines up with the 382, it might be good to look at a potential reversal around the 382. And you can do that, you might have a trend line, a moving average. In this case, I'm going to just look at, the candles themselves. If you're not familiar with the candlesticks, you may want to look those up. But you can see that this 382 was kind of holding its resistance here for a couple days. No position yet. you can see we did get this doji here showing indecision, and then we got this inverted hammer at the top of an uptrend. So this is enough information for me to say, let me take a short position. Let me buy some puts here. And, your target obviously would be back down to retest the lows. And maybe your stop is at the 50% retracement. So if you entered, at the close of this day, you can see you got a nice move to the downside. And maybe you bring your stop down, maybe you get rid of some of it. And you can see we also kind of came back up again, and the same thing, right around the same previous support, this resistance level, now it's resistance, you got another reversal candle. So maybe you take another short trade, milk it till it doesn't work. And eventually this thing just ends up breaking down. So, we never, for those that use Fibonacci tools for trading, you never just simply take one of these ratios and just guess. You need a confirming tool. Maybe it's an indicator, like I said, maybe it's just reversal candles, maybe it's previous support, maybe it's a trend line of some sort or moving average. You want to sort of have a little more evidence, because otherwise you're just guessing as to which retracement is going to take hold. So hopefully that helps. We're going to continue our Fibonacci analysis series, so stay tuned. Thanks.